Do your intro. I'm ready. I'm here.
Welcome to this bonus episode of Box, where Al and I review shit. I'm Jess,
And I'm Al.
and this week we are reviewing Overtake My Heart. Thick Rick Finds Love. What are your general thoughts?
Anita Driver needs to be imprisoned. The book needs to be burnt.
Yes.
And everyone must shield Daniel Ricciardo from this
He needs a restraining order.
atrocity
He
of a
needs a
novel.
restraining order.
It is interesting in a non-nice way.
Yeah. The disclaimer is absolute bullshit. The resemblance is not coincidental. It blatantly refers to him and his career from juniors through to now. There's an obvious connection between the individual referred to as Daniel Ricciardo and the sport he's competing. Putting a disclaimer at the front of it doesn't remove any liability. He's still profiting.
The disclaimer is purely a liability thing. I do not think in any way Anita Driver tried to hide the fact that this was completely about Daniel. Like, she didn't change names, didn't change description. Like, there's absolutely no attempt at all, which I think just adds to the humor of Anita. I mean, she's made 2 other books, and I believe they're both children's books, and one of them is literally like Charles Leclerc and the big scary Monaco Grand Prix, and the next one is like when you caught on fire, it's like what is it? Drop,
stop,
tuck and roll, something like that.
Roll.
Yeah, stop, drop and roll, but it's drop, stop, drop and stroll, and it's obviously like a kids book to make fun of Strolly Polly. So I mean,
she's not making
it's a theme.
That's for sure.
I have a belief, and again, we're not going to get into the conversation of gender identity. That's a different discussion. But I was reading this, and I read some passages to Tom, and Tom looked at me and went, "That's a man who's trolling everyone." And I was like, "No." And then I read the comment on like the first chapter about his like one of the 8 paragraphs about Daniel's neck. 8 paragraphs. Just want to put that out there.
Is 3 pages too many on describing a person's neck?
Like there's more conversations about his neck later on, but 3 pages consecutively, but also 8 consecutive paragraphs, one after the other, about someone's neck. And one of them was they could cut like I'll read it to you. I'm sure I highlighted it because I was like, that is just
I have
what is that
of my own. My lord, they say the man is 75% water, but not Daniel. He was 75% neck.
Yeah, I know, I've got that one too.
Man with the golden neck.
I'm trying to find it. His neck had to be a Sky Q or Sky Glass customer with the way it pushed her red button in just the right way. And I read that to Tom, and Tom looked at me and went, "You're being trolled." I was like, I have purchased a book to be trolled. Yes.
And his
am I disappointed in the book? Yes. Would I say it's a bad purchase? Not necessarily, because
if you're down for
it still brought a lot of entertainment.
It
was still super entertaining. I read it in one night, one afternoon tonight, because as much as it should have only taken me a few hours to read, I did have to pause it and just comprehend what the fuck I was reading. I had to text you quite a lot to be like, what is this? But it was entertaining. It was an entertaining book.
I must say my favourite part of the book, and I didn't expect to have a favourite part, was the Nikita Mazepin slander.
I knew you were going to say that. I was going to say, I know what it is because it's my favourite too. Oh my God. It is so... I've got them like highlighted because I just could not get over it. I absolutely loved it. The other thing, I don't know if you looked into it, the other thing I really, really enjoy was the footnotes. Did you read the footnotes?
I did read them.
They mentioned something about like Ferrari, I think Ferrari strategy, and it was like footnote. You clicked on it, and it was like, "Can someone just help Charles and Carlos?"
Yeah.
I was like, it had me
Relatable.
cracking up, and there was one of like there was something about the grid. I can't even remember the full quote, but then the footnote was like this like it was bigger than the paragraph, massive thing about like you used to be able to walk up to the cars, you could make out with the cars, you could kiss the cars, like it was this whole thing. At the end of it, it was like, but it's not like that now. That's back in the old days. I was like something about it said something like talk to Seb, and then I had just ask Max.
Yeah, I just did that one.
It's so they've got so many, and it's just they're not even footnotes. It's just more trolling, just more ways to troll us. And you know what? We bought the damn book. That's on us.
I still think Daniel should sue and claim all and any and all royalties from this book.
I feel like we should sue and claim trauma.
Law student mode was temporarily activated, and I've shut that down for you because you don't want to hear it. But let's just say there are avenues.
I just feel like anyone who's been no, I was gonna say forced to, no one's forced to, but anyone who's read that book under the guise of, oh my god, it's a Daniel Ricciardo romance novel, was lied to.
How is
They were lied to.
one of 69? I'm just like,
It's another troll. It's another troll. I don't think we'll get a single another book about Daniel Ricciardo. It's just a troll.
I'm
Can
not
we
sitting
talk
through
about
another 8 of these freaking books.
no. I might read like 2 or 3 just for a laugh, but I'm not.
I can't commit to all 60.
I'm not doing that many. Can we just talk about like one of the opening lines about our protagonist, Emily?
I have some notes.
She was no ordinary woman.
She is. There's nothing special about her.
No, there is something special about her.
She's deluded.
She creeps me out. She talks about having all of Daniel's stuff on her walls and rewatching all of Daniel's races, and she's like, but not in a weird stalker kind of way.
Very much.
Yeah. There's a difference between putting a driver on your wall and then watching a few races like back that like you enjoy and doing it in a casual way, but you are literally obsessed. Like you are stalkerish obsessed. The moment he comes to town, you make an entire scenario happen to have a meet cute. That's stalkerish.
Like, but you can tell this is also written by a man, given that it's Daniel is not just going to.
The opening line is, "She was no ordinary woman." No woman says that.
But it's also like, does she genuinely think Daniel Ricciardo is just going to be casually hanging out in his hotel lobby, waiting for people to bump into him, and then have the time to sit down there and have an hour and a half long conversation about Formula One with this random person who's just bumped into him?
So I know what hotel the drivers stay in, and I know because I've stayed in the sister hotel. So like I've been a part of like the chain, and we could have literally just popped over to theirs and just stayed in the hotel lobby. We didn't, because as much as we're fans and we would love to meet them, that's stalkerish and creepy and just a little bit gross.
I mean, there were people
so we didn't do that.
Singapore, but it's just like the drivers, they've got places to be. They're not just spending 2 hours in the hotel lobby.
Okay, don't get me wrong. Before people jump on me and say that's mean, I've got no problem with people standing outside of a hotel lobby and like waiting for them to come out and then, you know, doing the whole, oh my God, have a great year. I've got no problem with that because you're outside, but to actually go into the hotel, congest the lobby where there's other residents, and like, you know, team members also staying, on the off chance you're going to see a driver, to me is extreme.
Yeah.
Being outside in an open area where you can move and let people move, like roam freely, no problem. To go into someone's lobby and stand in the lobby, to me, is just that little bit on the side.
I'd like to also preface this by saying that me being outside of their hotel was a complete and utter accident. I didn't intend for that to happen.
I mean, fate, but but I just want to preference there's a big difference, and like there's a big difference between fans who have things on their walls and they casually rewatch races and they do it because they enjoy the sport,
Yeah.
and then doing it like
Just to
our
see
protagonist is, because she is obsessed. And I'm sorry, but the author's like, not in a stalkerish way, and then proceeds to explain exactly what makes it a stalkerish way.
It's psychopathic, really. It's something you would see on like Criminal Minds or even a true crime thing. Like, if anything happened to Daniel, this woman should be it. She's
Yeah,
she's
literally.
brilliant. And now, can we also just discuss the complete and utter Australian slander that takes place?
Okay, I literally have. I've got a few notes because it drives me wild.
Outback Steakhouse is not the food of our people. I got it.
I literally wrote, Steakhouse, not the food of his people.
As Australians, we can confirm it is
I
not the
feel
food
like
of our people.
I feel like if we were going to have an international like Australian food thing, it would have to be a giant Bunnings warehouse, and out the front it's just multiple barbecues for sausage sandwiches.
It's not.
That's
not an
the
Outback
food of our
Steakhouse.
people.
I have absolutely no idea what a bloomin' onion is. It is not a common Australian delicacy.
Literally, I literally did the same thing. I was like, a bloomin' onion. I was like, I've never eaten one of those in my fucking life. That is not a delicacy that is known to Australia. A delicacy to Australia. Pardon?
But then in the footnote, she does say it's a traditional Aboriginal dish. And that's okay. That's all well and good. It's not eaten widely.
I've never heard that though.
Neither have I.
Like, there are a lot Australia needs to do in terms of knowing our Indigenous culture, but I feel like we know enough to be like, I've never heard of that.
Like, that was not
and
something
I feel
brought
like
up when
it's
we were
something that we would have
studying
all heard
Aboriginal
of.
culture in school, like, and their traditional dishes.
They would have made us eat it.
100%.
They would have made us eat it. And we would have been like, okay, we've eaten one. We haven't.
We know what it is. Didn't know.
I don't know about that. I think Anita's just bullshitting some more. She's just trolling you and I as Aussies.
I found it offensive. And that is another reason to sue.
Also the Aussie slang. Please stop.
Veggie might
Anita,
be.
please. Veggie might be. Did you touch his didgeridoo?
We don't talk like that.
Did you? I think it was like, do it. I'm like, whoop. Sorry, I can't do that.
No.
Where's the one?
Nope.
Oh yeah, the one about when they're trying to console. Oh yeah, that Aussie boy is a didgeridoo. That man literally drinks from a shoe. Gross. And then the footnote is like, please don't do this at home. Athlete's foot
tongue
is like a made. I'm like,
athlete's tongue is not a thing.
Like, so gross. Let's see if I can find
and then also
another one.
But then also, like, the references made to other drivers, some were good.
I literally was just on that already. Do you want me to read it out? It's so mean. So mean. So when she's talking about, this is another obsessive thing. She's talking about moving on from Daniel. What does she do? Talks about moving on with another driver.
Yeah.
Creepy. But what about Lewis? She had always fancied him, but the violent porpoising effect of his car in 2022 had left him a battered, broken man. What about Charles? He probably was too focused on his music career to make time for her. Lance, too sticky from maple syrup. Fernando, he'd never leave Taylor Swift for me, Emily thought. George, he was talented for sure, but a man who refuses to wear a shirt is a man you can't take anywhere. Pierre, he's just so French.
Yeah. The other issues I have. Why is Lando 17 if this is set in 2023?
I know. I know. I thought that too. I was like,
man is 24.
That is like the most fictional part of the whole thing.
But then there's also the insinuation of like a Maxial bromance being more than a bromance.
I know. I saw that too. Not tonight, Max. I'm too tired. I was like,
I'm sorry. Can we circle back? That was probably.
Can we get rid of everything and just read a story about them?
Like that,
please.
Downfall. Can Can we get some more context on that one, please?
No, I feel you.
But my favourite part is that all of this takes place in a world where Nicholas Latifi is a 2-time world champion.
And the footnote was, "I'm from the future. This happens. Trust me." I'm like,
yes.
We also talk about, like, I feel like Anita possibly could be American.
They're 100% American.
Maybe, probably not.
For them to move the entire
purely based
to America, they have to be American.
I know. Because I was going to say, can we talk about the names of the GPs real quick? There's only 2. Wrangler, Jeans, Coca-Cola, Kentucky Grand Prix. And then McDonald's, Cowboy, Freedom, Eagle, Oklahoma Grand Prix. There are so many things that make me, like, there's a few things in there I'm like, it's all based in America, they've got to be an American author. But then at the same time, Freedom, Eagle, Oklahoma. I'm like, either they're ripping on their own country or they are not American and they are ripping on America hard, because I can't tell.
I definitely feel like it's American, just because they're so... Moving every Grand Prix to the US is such an American thing to do.
Oh no, they did mention the one... They mentioned past races.
Yeah. My favourite reference to previous
Japan
race.
And China, but they didn't actually confirm.
My favourite reference to another race was it made her feel as useless as a set of wet tyres at the Bahrain Grand Prix.
My favourite quote of all time is, the question spun in her head like Nikita Mazepin on a wet track or a dry track.
My other favourite Nikita Mazepin slanderish quotes: she needed him the way Nikita Mazepin needed his dad's money to get an F1 seat. And you'll end up like Nikita Mazepin shoveling manure in your dad's fertilizer factory in Siberia.
The uncertainty hung over her like a Russian cloud that only Nikita Mazepin could recognise. Oh my god, there's just so many. But
then there's also some, like...
Hang on, I got one more.
Go for it.
And it broke her heart to think that while he was out there living his dream, she was left behind nursing a heart more broken than Nikita Mazepin's car after crashing out on his first lap on turn 3. Sorry, on his first race on turn 3 of lap 1. That's pretty specific there.
This isn't a generalisation.
Oh, sorry, get back to the Aussie slang. I feel like I can feel bile in my throat while I read this out to you. This is how gross it makes me feel. It's like Daniel's uncle used to say about women. There's always another shrimp on the barbie. There's always another girl. We don't say shrimp. We don't say shrimp. We say prawn. And most of the time we don't even put prawns on the barbie. We eat them raw. Well, I don't eat seafood, but they're eaten raw. Like, it's just really sad.
You know, my takeaway
I have
from
a quote.
Go for it.
This one is not about Mazepin for once. This is the one the internet went crazy for, and they talked about the end part of the quote, but I feel like we've got to give some justice to the front part of it too.
Okay.
She could feel he was harder than a Pirelli C1 tyre as he crashed into her from behind like she was Max in Baku 2018. Everyone focused on that crashing in behind part, but I feel like we've got to give props to the Pirelli C1. Like, that was good. That was good.
Yeah. But then there's also...
Really paints a picture.
And then it felt like the downforce of 1,000 rear wings all at once.
This book just needs to be burnt.
The conversation flowed as smoothly as an Adrian Newey designed car in the wind tunnel.
So good. So good. Like, it's so bad, but so good.
But my key takeaway from the end is that if a man's career isn't suffering after 1.5 dates with me and then ghosting me, I don't want it. If his career doesn't circle the drain because he regrets...
But at the same time, like, she knows his career and she knows his job and what he does. And I feel like she was kind of overreacting to it. Like, even if I was friends with a Formula 1 driver, if I had the privilege of being friends, I'd be like, they're not going to talk to me every day. They're not going to talk to me every week because they are so busy and their life is chaotic and their job is stressful. It's a life and death situation every time they get in their car. So the fact that she's just like, oh my God, he hasn't responded. I'm like, to be such an F1 enthusiast like you are, you should be giving him patience and the benefit of the doubt.
Like,
Not,
man's trying not to kill himself in a car. Like,
I just like the idea, like, I don't know, like, I know she doesn't blow up his phone, but like it kind of, she still to me feels like the kind of character that would,
yeah.
and like distract them before the race, and I'm like, nope.
But also,
Feel like it's common thing before a race, you just,
who's getting like a one-on-one paddock tour with a driver on a practice day?
exactly.
He's not spending all day with you. He's got
I
to be in the
mean,
car. What the?
in the book, he just spent the entire time with her, like, this is what I do, and this is where I do this, and let's go do that, and let's just go sit on a boat. What?
Why is there a boat?
The fuck? They went like on a little lake thing, I think, from memory.
It's just like none of it makes sense. It's like someone who
We're about to lose our call, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Less than.
Did you want me to make a new one, or did you want to make a new one?
I can make a new one.
Easy, and then we'll finish off. I've got the perfect quote to finish off with.
Can't wait.
It's the author's notes. Done.
For a second, then I was like, please tell me it's working.
No, it is. I just hadn't clicked all my stuff on my end, so I was like, why isn't it loading? It's because I'm an idiot.
Can relate.
You know that Grinch scene when the Grinch is yelling to his echo and he's like, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. That's me.
Yeah. Should we pick up where we left off?
You forgot where we left off?
Yeah.
The last thing I remember reading out was the Pirelli C1 Max Baku thing. And then did you read something out?
Oh, I said that.
Oh, we were talking about having a full day with a driver on a practice day.
In the media day, maybe. After he finished his duties, you might get like a few hours that afternoon. But on a practice day, absolutely not.
I just don't think you're going to get time with any driver on any of the days.
Not
like,
no.
And I mean, you shouldn't.
Like they're working.
As a de facto partner, like have the lunch breaks with them like a normal job, but that is their job.
They're at work. You're there to just have them at work.
If my boyfriend comes to visit me at work, when does he get to see me? On my lunch break, because I have to work, and that's my job. If you are going to be visiting a driver as you're starting to date, figure things out, there needs to be an understanding that that is their job. They're not going to spend every minute with you.
They're working.
They're not going to spend every second with you.
If
they're working.
If they're not on track, they're with their engineers. They're with their social team. They're doing other shit behind the scenes. They don't have the time to just sit down and have a coffee,
and they definitely don't have the time to go and ride a boat around a lake.
And give you like a tour of the paddock by them. Like maybe they can organise one for you, like a member of the team. Hey, my assistant, give them a tour of the paddock for me. But like,
yeah,
they're not getting time to do it.
The one thing I will give fan fictions props to, the ones I've read at least, fans who write fan fiction know the ins and outs of track. And like they know, like when they do it and they like run into a driver at the track, it's like it's on the way, like the driver's on their way to do something, and like they have like that brief like, oh hi, nice to meet you too, blah blah blah, and then they separate. Because it's like you can't get involved because their day's busy, so just I'm like, I love that. I love not that it's realistic, because it's not realistic.
Not in any way.
I love that it's realistic in the aspect of how busy the drivers' lives are. I like that they keep it as honest to the actual sport while being, fictional in terms of storyline. And they do that well.
They do. Actual fan fictions, not this absolute atrocity of a novel that should not be required to be paid for in any way, shape, or form.
And I remember I messaged you. I remember we bought it at the same time, because I remember I said to you, I'm going to buy this book because I've just seen a video of Daniel Ricciardo learning about it, and I think it'll only be like a few weeks before it's taken down. And I was like, I'm going to buy it and read it because I need to know what's in it if it's going to be banned. Like, curiosity killed the cat. And I remember when I sent that to you and I sent you the video of Daniel being like, what the fuck is this? You were like, I'm going to buy it too and we can both read it. And I remember I read it and I texted you and I was like, this is horrible. This is an atrocity. This is just, oh, I can't deal with this. And then I think like that night, you're like, okay, I'll start reading it too. And I finished it. And only a few hours later, you were like, what did I just read?
I messaged my dad
And
and I was like, there's going to be a purchase on the Amazon account. You just need to ignore it. Don't ask questions. And he's like, what did you buy? And I was like, you don't want to know.
There's been a few times I've purchased, there's been a few times where I've been reading questionable scenes or chapters. And that, of course, is when, you know, when you're watching a TV show, but when a sex scene comes on, that's when your mum walks in the room.
Yeah.
So there's been a few times I'm reading a book and Tom looks over at the chapter at the exact moment something graphic happens and he's like, what are you reading? So before I purchased the book, I went in and I said, I have to talk to you about something. And I was very serious. And he got really worried that something had happened. I said, I have to talk to you about something. There is a Daniel Ricciardo erotica novel that I will be buying because it's about to be banned. I was like, because he's just found out about it and I don't think it'll be on the shelves very long and I need to read it to know why it's being banned. Like, I need to know why it's so bad or like what's in it to make them go, this needs to be off the shelves.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I thought you were about to like say something horrible. This is so, he's like, do what you want. But I had to be like, if you look at my book and you think, why is there a driver's name and this horrible, horrible erotica? I'm like, this is why. It's for research purposes, not enjoyment. And there was nothing enjoyable about that.
Absolutely.
Nothing. We got 3 chapters in, I text you and I was like, this is not enjoyment. This is now research. Like, I'm forcing myself to read this.
Yeah, I did the same. I was like,
and the cover's like a perfect gift for mum. And I'm like, I just love how the cover's like, it's a perfect gift for mum. I'm like, I would never give this to my mum.
If my mother was still alive and I gifted this to her, it would probably kill her all over again. I'm deadly serious. It is that bad.
It's so cruel. It's true, but it's so cruel.
She's dead. What's she gonna do?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, what's she gonna do? She's probably read it through us. She's just like, what are these girls?
Probably read it over my shoulder and she's thinking, what have you got?
I feel like your mum would know it was research. I don't think there was anything to enjoy in that book at all.
Definitely not.
No.
Except the Nikita Mazepin slander that I'm always on board with.
Yeah, me too. And just the occasional footnote.
The footnotes, while questionable,
I can get behind those.
I can get behind. I'm not usually a footnote kind of gal because uni traumatized me.
Yeah.
Having to footnote every.
I haven't read a footnote ever since high school when I needed to for one of my major works. But I haven't read a footnote in any book because I'm like, if I don't know what it is, I'm going to find out or I'm going to do my own research. I don't want, I don't need a footnote. I'm too good for that. This is the first time I've actually read the footnotes and I don't even know. I think I accidentally clicked on one and it came up and I was like, no way. And I had to go back to the start of the book in my second reading of it and like click on every single footnote just to reread them because I was like, this is so funny.
I skimmed over it when I was reading, but when I got to the end, I went through and I had a look and I was like, oh, yeah, reference to that. Some of it was kind of obvious, but it was just.
Well, some of them were like, I read a few of them at the end of my first reading and I knew they were there then. And I was like, oh, they're kind of funny. But reading it the second time for this, being able to like read them in the context of the paragraph, like read the paragraph and then read the footnote, I was like, okay, that's kind of funnier. That kind of makes it a bit more funny. I see what you did there. I like it. It's like one of the only things I like about this book.
And it was also just like, general references to other drivers. I was going to say characters, but no, drivers. They're actual people.
They stated names. Again, it's not like they're saying, it's not like they're giving a different name and then a description.
But,
like, oh, this is Elliot, and he's a 7-time world champion, and he's very good looking, and he has his own mission project and a beautiful bulldog. And we go, oh, that's obviously Lewis. They just straight to say Lewis.
Skip the details. This is Charles. This is Lando. This is Max.
No attempt to try and cover up who it could be. Absolutely no attempt.
And that's just like another.
Like,
Another indication of poor writing. There's like no description.
And I feel like circling back to the disclaimer and then topping on that topic of fan fictions, I've read fan fictions where they've had a disclaimer at the front and they're like, this is my own body of work. This is not a real story. This is not a depiction of the real drivers' lives. They're just being used as characters and blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, they've given a really good like disclaimer of, you know, yes, I'm using the characters' real names, but no, this has nothing to do with them. This has nothing, like, no reflection of them. This is just, you know, a portrayal of them. And I'm like, that was really good disclaimer. Like, I read it, I'm like, yep, got it, no problem. I can understand, you know, they're using the names, but it's not them. Where the disclaimer was nothing like that. It was just kind of like, I take no fall.
But even then, it's just...
Don't sue me.
Having a disclaimer there doesn't negate you of liability. And I'm trying to avoid going full law grad, but it's...
Part of me thinks that Anita Driver wants to be sued.
Yeah.
Purely just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. It's like, why not?
It's got to be like an attention grab that she wants.
Maybe, but also just like...
Yeah.
But, I mean, can you imagine if you wrote an erotic novel and then you turn around and went, I wrote an erotic novel about Teddy Ricardo and I got sued for it? Like,
everyone would be
what
like,
a statement. It's not one to be proud of, but it's still a statement.
And then, but it's also like,
oh god,
technically Max could sue as well for how he's portrayed. And
they all could be.
Yeah.
Pierre could take offense for being labeled French. He is, but it's not said in a nice context.
Same with like every driver mentioned in some way, shape, or form.
Can we? I don't think I remember seeing. They would have had an age for Daniel. But can we talk about the age jumping? Like, Daniel's in his 30s. Well, let's say like in this book he's 30. And then how old was Emily again? Because I thought she said something like her not being too far off the same age. But then she's talking about Charles and Pierre, and they're younger. But then she's talking about Lewis, and he's older. So what is going on there? Yeah. That's a little creepy.
And same with George. I think
let me see if I can find out. I'm going to see. Keep talking. I'm going to see if I can find their ages in here. I don't think there are any, though.
But the most slanderous age, though, little Lando Norris. He doesn't have to be that little. He's not 17.
It was pretty mean.
And his biggest achievement is not his Twitch career. Like,
but it is pretty damn impressive.
He's done a lot. He's got umpteen company.
There's no ages in here, but
except for slandering.
She's talking about it this year.
So that'd make Danny what, 30?
So
34?
34. Yeah. So let's say she's in her 30s, early 30s. But then she's talking about Charles, who's 25.
And George, who's 25.
What in the Kelly Piquet shit is this? I'm just saying. We've already got one relationship like that on track, and it is already so scrutinized as it is. Well, before we wrap it up, would you like me to read the author's notes? Or I should say about the author.
Yes.
All right. Because it is something. It's something.
It's something, all right.
You'll enjoy it. Anita Driver is a Formula One enthusiast who has attended every Monaco Grand Prix since 1972. It's a Monaco Grand Prix. I never miss a Monaco Grand Prix.
It's Grand Prix.
She first learned to love cars when her father abandoned her at a gas station at the tender age of 11. She currently resides in a cottage in New Hampshire with her 37 cats, who are all named Sterling Moss. She once shared a cab with the Dalai Lama and has a very festive pink hat that she wears when she's feeling fancy. That's who we just read a book by. Yeah.
Daniel should sue for custody of the 37 cats.
Gift them all to Max. I'm sure he'll love that. Be the best thing that ever happened.
Just his Monaco penthouse overrun. He'd have 39 cats.
He'd have 39 broken doors.
Every like door would just have to be taken off its hinges. Nothing can be closed in.
Oh yeah. honestly, I feel like having that many cats, that's the only way that Max Verstappen could do it. The issue is, I genuinely don't think Max would even complain about having that much cats. I just
No.
can't see him being the kind of person that's like, that's too many. He'd just be like, yep, I'm taking them
Come to
all.
me, my children.
I was watching a episode of Two Broke Girls last night, in the first season, and they go to a hoarder's house and they find like a litter, and there's like 14 kittens or something. And it's like a box, and it's just a whole litter of kittens. And the first thing that came to my head was Max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like, yeah, Max would love those.
But he would be so stressed, like all the time, doing a head count, making sure he hadn't lost.
Oh yeah, I did not say that he wouldn't regret his decision, but I can still see him being the one to just openly accept it and be like, this is my life now.
Kelly, on the other hand,
that woman would need a lot of wine every day. I would need a lot of wine for that many cats.
But then the
I
wine
love
would have
cats.
cat hair in it. Like, they would just be cat hair. Everything would be
exhausting. It'd all be exhausting.
I feel sorry for their maid too. If there was a speck of cat hair, she'd be on call.
I mean, you couldn't really police that, right? Because imagine, like, the cleaner comes in from 9 to 10. Max doesn't get home till 4. That is like quite a few hours. I can't do the maths. 6 hours where those cats, 39 cats, have just been running around by himself. You would have to have it so the cleaners there from 3 to 4, so that when he gets home, it's like.
I don't think he would be the issue though. He'd probably be like,
no,
it is what it is. Cat hair.
He'd just make a coat out of the fur.
Yeah, he'd just embrace the life.
Someone needs to get him. Do you remember that video with him and Danny, the Christmas one a few years ago, where they had the suits?
Yes.
The Christmas themed suits. They need to redo that, but have like a cat Christmas suit.
Mm-hmm. Slightly off topic.
Like,
he might have a Christmas blazer. This has been our review of Thick Rick. Thank you for watching. Whether or not you purchased the book, based on this review,
we don't recommend it.
We don't recommend it. And if you do, by some chance, it is not on us. That is our disclaimer, which is already way better than Anita Driver's. But thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next edition of Jess and Al Review Shift. Okay, we're done.
Bye.
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 Bye.